Hey guys, so in part 7 of the social media app using Laravel, I'll be adding the functionality of followers and following. So you can come into other profiles here and unfollow and follow. So if this is something you'd like to learn how to do, then watch this video. Okay, so first what we need to do is set up our followers migration. So let's open up our terminal here. Okay, and then I'll do PHP artisan make migration. Create follows table. Okay, and open that up, and then I'll just close this out. Okay, and then after, what we want to do is create the follow count. Okay, so under ID, we can do table or an ID. User ID. Okay, constrained. Cascade on delete. Okay, and then table or an ID followed user followed user ID. Okay, and then constrain users. And then again, cascade on delete. Okay, then underneath timestamp, we'll do table unique user ID and then follow user ID. So that means there's no duplicates, so you can only follow a user one time. Okay, and then we'll do the migration. So open up your terminal and then do PHP artisan migrate. Okay, so this is good. Okay, so next let's open up our models and then create the model relationships. Okay, so I'll open up my user model here. Okay, then underneath the comments here, we can open up a new one for followers. So public function followers. Okay, and then I'll just open this up. And then return this belongs to many. Okay, and then close this off. And then user class and follows. And then followed user ID. And then user ID. Okay, and then after this, we'll do following. So public function followings. Then open this up. And then again, return this belongs to many. User class. Okay, and then follows user ID, and then followed user ID. Okay, and then close this off and save. Okay, and then lastly, we'll do the is following. So this will show who you're following. Okay, so public function is following user other boolean, open that up, return this followings where followed user ID, and other ID exists. Okay, close that off and double check our brackets. Okay, this looks good. So now let's create our routes. So scroll down here to our web routes, and then we'll create the routes for the follow controller. Okay, so first we'll need to make the follow controller here. So open up our terminal. Okay, and then I'll do PHP artisan make controller follow controller. Okay, so this is good. So next I'll just import this to the routes. I just search follow controller and that should come up. Okay. So now we can use our follow controller. So let's just add it within the auth here. So we'll add it underneath our likes and comments controller. So we'll do route hosts users user follow. Okay, and that will trigger the follow method. So follow controller class toggle. So we'll set this up after, but let's just name it that for now. And then we'll name it users.follow. Okay, and close this off. Okay, so next let's open up our follow controller and we can work on setting that up. So back in our navigator here, let's go into our controllers and follow controller. Okay, and then we'll create that toggle method. So public function toggle user to follow. And then I'll open this up. User is equal to auth user. And then if user is following users to follow, open this up, user following detach user to follow. Okay, so this will unfollow a user. Okay, and then else users followings attach users to follow ID. Okay, and then after we'll just return back. Okay, and then just import our users. Okay, so let's double check our user class here is following. Okay, and then next let's go to our profile show and we'll add in the buttons for follow and unfollow. Okay, so profile show.blade. Okay, so let's add it underneath the join date here. Okay, so create a new div. So we'll do div with a class of flex, item center, gap of 6, and margin top 4. Okay, and then we'll do span, and then a strong tag, and then we'll open up the followers. So user, followers, and then count. Okay, and then close that off, and then we'll add in the followers. Okay, so that'll show the followers, and then we'll just copy this and then paste it underneath, and then we'll do this for following. And then this will be following. Okay, and let's just check our application. And awesome, so it's over here, so you can see how many followers and how many following. Let's just add a little bit of margin top here. To our about text, let's do margin top of 4. Okay, and then now we'll just add in the button where you can follow and unfollow the user. Okay, so to do this, you gotta be authenticated. Okay, so add auth. And then end auth. So if auth ID does not equal user ID, just close out the if statement here. And then form action is equal to the user follow route. So route users dot follow user. Okay, and then method is equal to post. Okay, and then open this up at CSRF. And then button class is equal to padding x of 3, padding y of 1, rounded. Okay, and then auth user is following user. Else background gray 300, hover background gray 400. Okay, and then we'll just wrap these up in colons. Okay, and then else background blue 500, hover background blue 600, text white. This is when you want to follow. Okay, and then close this bracket out. Okay, this one up here, just reopen this one. Okay, so this is all included in the class. So this is the logic here. And then you can do auth user is following user, then unfollow, else follow. Okay, and save this, and then just double check. Okay, we close out everything here. Let's check our application. Okay, so just up here, just forgot to add the if, so the at, save that, and double check our app now. Awesome, so this is my profile. I can't follow myself, so let's just go to dashboard. Okay, so I just go to the post and I'll go to Sean 2. Route user follow is not defined. Okay, so let's just double check our routes. Okay, so just over here, just forgot to close up the bracket for the route. Okay, and then just over here, just forgot to fix item center. Okay, I'll save that. And then over here, just remove the extra quote mark here. Okay, so this looks good. Okay, so now let's double check our application. And awesome, so now I can hit follow. Okay, so now it's saying there's error, so let's debug. Okay, so just back here in VS Code, just forgot to add in the arrow here. Okay, so I think this is good. And just double check again. Okay, so back in our app, I'll just refresh. So go back and click follow. Okay, so again, just another typo. I just forgot to add the capital here. Okay, so I think this looks good. Let's try again. So go back. Okay, and then hit follow. Okay, so I just rewrite the controller here as it doesn't seem to understand these variables here. So I'll just do it as users user. Okay, and I'll just erase everything here. Okay, and then I'll just change this to me so you can follow yourself. Okay, so I'll do if me ID is equal to user ID. Return back. Okay, and then me followings toggle user ID. Okay, and save this and then return back. Okay, save. And let's try again. Okay, so I'll refresh and then I'll try to follow. Awesome. So now we're able to follow here. So we can follow and then unfollow and then follow again. So great. So now we have implemented a following system. Okay, so let's stop here for now. And then in the next video, I'll set up another post timeline just for people that you follow. So there'll be a separate feed from the public feed here. So this is like the Explore feed, and then you'll have one just for your followers. So this includes the end of part 7 on the social media app using Laravel. Please like and subscribe to stay up to date with this series. And if you need help with any Laravel or web development projects, then you can contact me at maplitmedia.ca. And thanks for watching.